This is actually my first non-live guesting,
Oh,
so it's
really?
cool. Yeah, I feel like it takes a lot of a lot of the pressure off my shoulders.
Yeah,
So
yeah. And I feel
yeah.
like the conversations are more organic kasi if it's yeah, if it's usap lang and then you're not thinking na oh, we have to think about the live
Be
viewers,
careful.
read the
Yeah, that's right.
comments. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that makes a lot
Um
of sense.
so today my guest is a PBA Courtside Reporter, a former Ateneo Courtside Reporter, Ateneo represent, and the newly married Selina Dagdag-Alas. Does it before we start, does it feel weird when you say Alas in your name?
I'm actually honestly not used to it yet. Like
Yeah.
I remember when I went inside the bubble, and then some of my directors were asking me if they wanted, if I wanted my name printed out as Selina Dagdag-Alas.
Mm-hmm.
And then some of the graphics guys were saying, "Wag na, hassle yon. Dadagdagan mo pa trabaho namin." So I thought they were being serious. I said, "Oh, it's okay, Selina Dagdag's fine." But then my directors were saying niloloko lang naman daw ako. So they put Selena Dagdag-Alas. And I have to say, like, every time I see it, there's still a certain kilig factor to it.
Uh-huh.
Even when it comes to my husband, when he sees it, he gets kilig also.
Yeah.
So I'm still getting used to it, but in a really good way.
And I know that when you guys got married, it was just a civil wedding. It wasn't your you
Right.
didn't have the church wedding yet, and then you had to go to the
Mm-hmm.
bubble again. Like it I can imagine marriages that would happen in 2020 during the pandemic are already very unconventional. Like it's not what you would
Right.
it's not what you expect a marriage to be as you're growing up. So how has it been like now
Right.
that you're finally getting to like you live together, you're already finally experiencing the the normal married life. So how have the past weeks been like?
Oh my goodness, it's been unbelievably joyful. It's like every day I wake up with immense gratitude, just feeling this immense gratitude, especially because, I couldn't believe that this is the life I'm living now, that I actually get to wake up with the man I love or the man I married. And, um, it's like, as I told a lot of people in a lot of other earlier interviews, I feel like we're just experiencing the honeymoon stage now because when we when we got married, we had to enter the bubble right away. We couldn't even be together in the same hotel room. All of our activities were plotted in a way that there was very little leeway for us to meet or to have a common time together.
Mhm.
So now that we're out of the bubble and our schedule's very relaxed, I feel like now's the time it's actually beginning to sink in. Wow, we're married. Like every time we go out on a date, we don't have to part ways or say goodbye to each
Yeah.
other. Like we actually go home to the same house, and we get to wake up next to each other every morning. And that for me, it just me it just it's such a great feeling,
Hmm.
especially because it's like it's a never ending sleepover with your bestest friend or the person you want to be with most in the world. So now's a very happy stage in our lives, and I'm very grateful.
Can you, besides the fact that you don't have to part anymore after dates, na it's a different setup from how you guys were when you were boyfriend and girlfriend. Is there
Right.
what would be like the number one favorite thing in your typical everyday? Na besides the fact na you are spending your life with your partner,
Uh-huh.
you get to wake up next to them. Like what are those for the single people who just kind of can imagine what would the married life be like? What's something? Is there
What's
anything that parang very random, very subtle na you're experiencing now na parang oh wow, it's so great pala to be married. I didn't know I'd be experiencing this particular thing.
Um, well, I think one of my most favorite thing about that's so redundant. But my favorite thing about being married to Kevin is I'm actually excited to make content about this. But so we recently moved into this village, and we have the best neighbors. As in, they send us a lot of food all the time, and they have the most adorable children. And since Kevin has been off season, so he hasn't really been training with the team, he works out on
Mhm.
his own. Every 5 or 4 p.m. we head out and we play with our neighbor kids. And we
Oh,
both super love kids. So we've been teaching them old school games like tumbang preso,
okay.
patintero, ice water, hide and seek. And they're just so adorable. Like the youngest one is 4 years old. The eldest one is like 9. And it just feels it just fills our lives with so much joy, so
Yeah.
much fun, getting to, play these games again. It brings back a lot of memories from your
Mhm.
childhood. And as I mentioned earlier, we both adore kids, we both love kids. Sometimes we would wake up to the sound of the children's voices shouting
Mhm.
outside our house, like, Tito Kevin, Tita Selena, wake up, wake up. They do like
Ah,
that.
they're calling
So
you.
they're
Part
calling
of the
us.
fam.
And they're super cute. They're super cute because they're so round. They're so taba-ching-ching. They're so nakakagigal.
Yeah.
So I feel like they've really enriched our marriage life in such a way that they've just added so much in terms of the fun and the laughter that we're experiencing at this
Mhm.
early age. So that's one of the surprising things I'm enjoying when it comes to marriage. Just being in the same neighborhood, knowing the same people, being neighbors with the same people, and like
Yeah.
unlike before in my village, the people I know aren't very close to Kevin, and then vice versa. This time
Yeah.
around, we're close to the same people, to the same neighbors, and yeah, we get to grow our relationships with them together.
Oh, so that would kind of be like how, because they say that when you get married, parang two become one. So this is kind of like this is one of the things that you become one because the community is the same na.
Mm-hmm.
You have the same community.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Very well said, actually. That's how I put it myself.
Uh-huh.
We're building a family together, even though technically there are no children yet, but you get the feeling that we're building a
Yeah.
community together, and I'm just really grateful for that. I know a lot of people don't get to experience that
Mhm.
in this setting, so I'm really immensely grateful.
Okay, kids. Obviously I have to ask about kids, but before that, I just want to go back. You said old school games, hide and seek.
Right.
Is hide and seek considered an old school game?
Well, I guess that would depend on the kind of household you were raised in. But
Okay.
we know a lot of children, for example, who are so immersed in gadgets already, who
Yeah.
have, very busy parents. But I won't take that against them because, parents just want to provide us with the best kind of life.
Yeah.
But often the side effect of busy parents are immersion when it comes to gadgets and technology. And so just to see children go out and play and have lots of fun under the sun, that's very
Yeah.
refreshing for us. So we were so impressed with how these kids and how their parents raised them. And in a way, we didn't technically teach them because they were familiar with most of them. But like
Okay. At least.
tumbang preso, hide and seek, they were aware of hide and seek.
Okay,
But like for
okay.
example, tumbang
Tumbang
preso,
press
we
is more
had
old
to
school.
explain the
Yeah.
yeah, we had to explain the mechanics, and
Yeah.
then um and there's also like they call it different things. Like I used to call it monkey in the middle when you play with a dodgeball. They just call it
Okay.
dodgeball. So
Okay, okay.
there's in a way we're kind of teaching them or like enriching their playtime. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now kids, where are you guys with that? Are you planning to have it? Are you the type na you wanna na kayong dalawa lang muna before you
Hmm.
have kids, or are you guys already planning that this year sana?
Actually, we've been getting that question a lot, but it's the first time I'm getting asked in like a public platform. When it comes to Kevin and I, like Kevin, ever since we started dating, which was practically almost 4 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
he would always tell me that he wanted kids early because he wanted his kids to be able to watch him play at his peak in the PBA. He
Oh,
doesn't want to be old when he has children, yung tipong bangko na lang or not a main or a key player anymore. So he really
yeah.
wanted to be watched at his prime. Um, with regards to me, I would say at the beginning I wanted to have kids at around 30 years old. I'm 28 now. I just turned
Mm-hmm.
28 last December. But the more we talk about it, the more I get to spend every day with Kevin. The more I see how he is with kids, it makes me kind of excited and open to the idea of having kids earlier. However, we arranged, as you mentioned earlier, we had a civil wedding. We didn't have our church wedding yet, and we had to postpone our church wedding because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And I had my gown made already, and like having gowns
Oh,
made right now,
okay.
especially by known designers, it's
Gets.
just super costly and super duper expensive. And I just kind of didn't want to waste that money, and especially once
I
I get pregnant,
agree.
I'm not gonna fit in the dress.
Yeah.
And what's a few months, right? So I really, really want to fit in the dress. So I
Okay.
guess we're sort of waiting until we're done with our church wedding, especially
Yeah.
because I want to be in good shape too. But that's it. After our church wedding, I'm very open to it, and God willing, we get kids as early as that season in our
Okay.
lives.
I saw in a past interview that you said that this was last year, by the way. I'm not sure if it's changed. You were planning to have it in Feb 19. Is that still the same, or
All
has it
right.
been pushed back?
Yes. So we moved it to February. That is correct. Good research. But however, the vaccine hasn't been mass distributed in our country yet. So when we
That's what you're
double
waiting
check,
for.
yes, and we double
Okay.
checked with actually this was just the other day. We double checked with our church what their restrictions are, and we double checked as well with the reception venue, and there are a lot of restrictions right now, Anton. Like if
Okay.
you're above 60 years old, you couldn't show up. If you're below a certain age, you couldn't show up. And us Pinoys, we're very family
Yeah.
oriented.
Of
Of course,
course.
Kevin and I, we want our grandparents to be there, our parents to be there, we want our little nieces and nephews to be there. So we're
And
really
your
hoping and praying
neighbors,
for
the
the
ones that you
best.
played with.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Actually, we've been talking about that. And if we push through now, then a lot of those people won't be able to attend given the restrictions.
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
Okay. Now I want to move ask more about kids. Also, I've always been kind of wondering about this. Like, okay, how is it like kaya when I finally have kids? But there's no one yet in my life. It's not anytime soon. You are already in like stage one of before you
Right.
have kids. I want to ask about the technology aspect because you and I, we grew up in the same, how do I say this?
Generation.
Yeah, generation that hindi pa, wala pang cellphone, wala pang iPad. Like,
Right.
now kasi I could see that there are parents na they'd let the kids play with their iPad, especially if they're very malikot. I think
Mm-hmm.
that probably would have worked on me a lot, but my parents didn't
Mm-hmm.
have the choice, so I ended up just going outside, doing the normal stuff of playing outside.
Mm-hmm.
Have you given it thought as to how you're going to raise your kids now in this technological generation, and how
Mm-hmm.
different it was from how we were raised?
I've thought about it a lot because I used to be a preschool teacher. It's still my dream job now. It's still my ultimate dream job now. And I taught in a progressive school. I strongly uphold the principles that are present in a progressive school. A lot of the schools right now are traditional. And I have nothing against that. But I noticed that progressive teaching, progressively raising a child, it just requires a lot of mindful choices, a lot of mindful decisions when it comes to modern technology and just how much of that is involved in a childhood, I'd say I'd allow a certain portion of it, especially because growing up, it's not like I was completely shut off technology. Um, like I've watched a lot of cartoons growing up. I watched
Yeah,
Hey Arnold. I watched Rugrats. I watched Art Attack. We had the best cartoons in our generation.
I agree.
But the difference is that we children, we kids, we adjust to the time slot of these cartoons.
On
Like
TV,
there's
eh.
cartoon time, like say Hey
Yeah.
Arnold airs at 4:30. So that's the only time we can watch TV. And
Yes.
like now, kids literally could watch their favorite cartoon any time of the day. They just
Anytime.
have to reach out to YouTube or whatsoever. So I guess for me, I would stick with the principle of like certain hours,
Mm-hmm.
maybe like an hour a day or certain hour a
Okay.
day, like at 4:30 p.m. after you do your homework or your school or your chores, then maybe I'd allow like just a certain amount of technology. I don't want them to be completely deprived. Baka naman pagpasok nila sa school nila, sabihin nila, "Uy, taga-bundok ka ba? Bakit hindi mo alam yung mga cartoons na to? Bakit hindi mo alam yung mga
Gets.
shows na to?" So, yeah, I'd allow it.
When you said you taught in a progressive school and comparing it to
Mhm.
traditional, could you like elaborate a little bit? What would be like big differences?
Oh my gosh, there's a lot actually. You'd have to take like a course just to more than one course
Oh,
to
okay, okay.
familiarize with it. But I would say, for example, one thing that I've noticed is characteristic of progressive schools is that we don't say good job or very good too much. In traditional schools, we're given stamps, right?
Yeah.
We're given very good stamps every time we do something. Like we share a snack to our classmate. We tell that kid, "Oh, very good," or "good job." With progressive school, you tend to realize that when you say very good a lot to a child after they do a good deed, they grow up very dependent on other people's opinions. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of us adults, we grow up insecure. We grow up wanting to do things to please other people instead of doing it just for the sake of doing it. So in progressive teaching, say for example, I see a child giving a snack to his classmate who forgot his
Oh,
lunchbox. Instead of saying very good, I could say something like, wow, that was very thoughtful of you. Now your classmate won't go hungry. And I think that's a very kind deed. You talk to
okay.
them in such a way that you compliment the consequence of their action rather than just saying like generically very good, like that.
Wow, natamaan ako dun kasi when you said, um,
Be careful, your parents are listening.
no, it's okay. I'm sure, kasi iba naman how they raised us to how I'm planning to raise if I were to have kids in the future.
Mhm.
But that's, like, that hit home the very good, and I loved it. I
Right.
love the parang, galing
Right.
naman ni Anton. He did such a,
Yeah.
something that everybody his age is doing. Oh nga,
Right.
no. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
So you point out the consequence, and the impact of his good deed. And,
Yeah,
next time he'd have the motivation of doing something kind for the sake of helping
just
others,
because.
not for the sake of pleasing his elders or something. So
Wow.
that's one thing.
Okay, taking note of that. Taking note. Okay, how
You're
about the?
learning.
Yeah, I am. I am. I'm
You're
the.
learning from our from our talk.
Yeah, but then I remember I read something. Actually, my mom said something before. She read it in a book. I forgot which one, but everything you need to learn in life, you learn in preschool. That's why, like,
Hmm.
these stuff are so, you know, integral in like forming our character. But how about the other side? I remember I'm not sure what I did, but I got a bad stamp. Like, I did something bad, and I got a stamp with a sad face, and then like it stuck with me. Not the stamp, but it stuck with me for a week.
Uh-huh.
Like when I got almost washing it, I got, but like I couldn't wash the pain away. What's your,
Uh-huh.
as in your experience, diba, as a preschool teacher also, when a child does something bad though, like how do
Uh-huh.
you, what's the protocol, or how do you deal with that?
Honestly, putting on a sad stamp on a child when he does something bad is, it could be a very vague idea for them, especially if they're toddlers.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
not so sure if they have a concept of, seeing a sad face and thinking that they've had bad behavior in school. So I'm not so sure if that's effective.
Okay, it worked on me
What I
though,
do find
if I have to say.
effective. How old were you?
I
How
was
early of you
ano,
to like?
I was like 4 or 5 lang. But for some reason,
Wow.
it's there. It's
I
one of
guess
the
you're.
key memories. I don't even know what I did. I just know I got a bad
Uh-huh.
stamp.
Well, that's well, I guess with me, what works is just explaining. Also, explaining again. The key's
Okay.
always explaining the consequences. Say he bites, like it's not normal for preschool kids to bite each other when they're frustrated.
Yeah.
So, example, he bites a fellow classmate. You could point
Uh-huh.
out, like, you see your classmate's hurt. He's crying. He's got marks on his arm,
Okay.
and it looks really painful. And you try to make him realize what it would feel like if he were in the shoes of his classmate. So again, it's about building empathy, building
Wow.
compassion, trying to put yourself in another person's shoe at a very early age. Because
Okay.
kids learn that from parents, from modeling, from observation. And your mom's right. A lot of the things that you need to learn in life, you learn in preschool. You learn the values of generosity, of taking turns, of being kind, etc.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say that would probably be the more effective method.
Yes. There's a lot of,
Yeah,
what I'm understanding from this is that there's a lot of patience required. Like,
there's a lot of
the
patience
times will
required.
change, but then you just really need, instead of saying good job, you gotta dive deeper. Why is it a good job? Then you talk about, okay,
Yeah,
and
right,
patience. Since
right.
talking about patience, I'm sure that's something that is very important in a marriage. Last thing I want
Mm-hmm.
to ask about the newlywed life. I'm sure so many people have given you advice, given you tips on how to do it. Can you like pinpoint what is like one of the pieces of advice that really stuck to you in this early stage of your marriage?
I would say, because when Kevin and I were newly engaged, we were blessed enough to be brought to a workshop, a Christian workshop for married people or for engaged couples. And we
Okay.
were brought there by one of our ninangs together with her husband. And I just remember that the wife of a pastor there said that the wife usually sets the mood for the house or for the home. So if you have a joyful mother, if you have a happy mother, you end up raising happy children. You end up you end up making your husband come home excited to come home. Like some husbands, they're not very excited to come home. They dread what they have to come home to. But if you're a joyful wife, if you're a happy wife, if you're magaan sa
Yeah.
loob, then your husband would be excited to come home to you. Your children would be excited to come home from wherever they are. They're not the type of children who would want to stay out of the house for too long, or who would want to
Yeah.
be out more with their friends than be with family at home. So that was just one very practical and useful advice, to keep my mood in check. I know as a woman, it's so easy to get cranky. It's so easy to get moody, especially if it's that time of the month.
Yeah.
But just learning to be joyful um, amidst all circumstance, which characterizes a Christian anyway. I feel like that's been a very practical advice that stuck to me.
There's a lot of like that advice that was given to you. I've heard. I feel like I've heard it in a lot of different forms. I've heard di ba, Igaw ng Tahanan. You've heard of
Happy
the
wife, happy life.
happy wife, happy
Yeah.
life. But I feel like this one is
Yeah.
I kind of like this one more because it focuses. It's not annoying because happy wife, happy life. Sometimes it could be as a joke. Na parang sige, I'll just give everything to the wife. Kasi
Right.
if not,
Right.
hassle yung buhay ko. But this is more focused on like what the mother parang exudes, and that sort of sets the
Right.
tone and the vibe, not just in the
Right.
house but the entire family. Oh.
That's right. And I feel because the happy wife, happy life mantra, I feel so bad for husbands. I feel like that puts a lot of pressure also on their shoulders.
Oh yeah. Pero
When
kailangan.
kailangan ba?
Yeah, I would say my parents have been happily
Uh-huh.
married for 31 years, and
Mm-hmm.
yun talaga. Like, it's sometimes my parents watch this and I make this joke to their face, so it's okay for me to say it. My dad would sometimes would just be like, they don't know, as in just what your mom says, or like what your mom wants, ganon. But at the
Uh-huh.
end of the day, ganun eh. Like, I've seen it. I've seen it growing up, and it's worked. So
Right.
yun talaga,
Right.
like you gotta just happy wife, happy life, happy
Happy life.
childhood, happy
Right.
everything. Okay. You
That's right.
you
Happy home.
yes, that's right. You mentioned your religion and like the faith
Right.
of the role of God in your marriage. You even took a workshop about this.
Right.
Could you elaborate a little more as to how come, like how do you view the role of God in your marriage? Because a marriage is a union between two people, and
Right.
it's I sort of struggle with seeing it concretely as to how being centered with, because I would think that if I have a wife, I have to devote my life to her. Like, I have to make her
Mm-hmm.
happy. I have to be a good person for her. What role does God play in how you're viewing your marriage and how you just go about the everyday decisions that you make?
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's a very good question.
Oh, thank you.
I would say God is definitely integral. He's center. He's everything. I think for marriage to work, God really needs to be in the center of a relationship. And I understand why a lot of people would find that vague. Like, how could you apply that in daily living and such? But again, one of the best advices I got entering to this marriage is, you know, as a wife and as a husband and being in this marriage together, it's honestly the best opportunity for you to mirror Christ to each other. So you mirror his gentleness, you mirror his kindness, you mirror how forgiving he is.
In how
So
you
you're just
treat the other
able,
person.
yes, and how you treat the other
Oh, okay,
person. And
okay.
ultimately, when you're able to do that, you're able to glorify God. And as diba, like we all know as Christians, that's our main purpose in life. Our main purpose in life is not to achieve our dreams or to, our at the end of the day, our main purpose in life is to be able to glorify God, to be able to show to others the love of God, to be able to share the gospel. And I feel like if you are able to treat each other in a Christ-like manner, then you're able to see more of God in each other. This really amazing pastor once said that if you put a happy girl rather, and a happy boy in a marriage, then you have a happy marriage. But if you put a woman who's very happy in Christ, very happy in her identity in Christ, and a man who's very happy in his identity with Christ, and you put them together in a marriage, then you don't just have a happy marriage, you have a very, very happy marriage. And I could
Oh.
honestly attest that that's how it's been with Kevin and I. We tried to start our courtship the Christian way. And hopefully through God's grace, we would be able to persevere and we would be able to, continue on our marriage, trying to keep God in the center. I mean, of course, there are a lot of days, there are a lot of moments we fail, but just to have that heart for God, the heart to pursue God amidst this marriage, the determination to love God more than we love each other. Um, I think that's what matters most. And I
Okay.
remember one of the pastors we met told Kevin once that he can't really love me the way I deserve to be loved if he doesn't love God first, or if he doesn't love God most. So his fear of the Lord is really what would drive him to treat me well as a wife, to love me the way God would want me to be loved, etc. So yeah,
Okay. Okay. So it would be because a marriage is between two people. Um,
right,
but so he's sort of like this. Am I right to interpret it this way? That he's sort of like the third party that, because there are gonna be human problems between two people, but then
right,
with God, he's sort of this um guide. Like if there's anything you're not sure of, like God's always the right answers, always the right way. So he's sort of like a how do I say this? I can't find another word besides guide.
I would say
Um,
he's the heart of a marriage. He's the heart of a marriage.
okay.
It won't
Okay.
function.
Okay.
It won't survive without him. It won't function right without him. It won't be as joyful without him. It won't serve its biblical purpose without him. So I would say he's the heart of a marriage.
Okay. All right. And speaking of this, I want to backtrack just a little bit. I
Okay.
got to see you and Kevin on Nigs Bustos' show, and
Right.
you talked about parang yung legal stage, the early stage, and
Yes.
um, I'm curious to know. I want to know a little. Is it okay if I wanted to dive a little more into the story? So this is what I know. Um, you're a courtside reporter. He's a basketball player. We've seen this
Right.
story a lot. So
Uh-huh.
he tried messaging you. He was trying to get your attention, but then you weren't
Yes.
reminding him. And then there was this
Yeah.
book. What was
Mhm.
the book specifically, and how did you tell him? Like, were you expecting him to read the book for you? What
No,
happened here?
actually. Well, kasi with Kev, he's been that time after he saw me in person in the court, diba? He touched up on that a bit, that
Yeah,
he was shooting around the court, and then he saw me, and then
yeah.
according to him, it was like love at first sight. So he made the Athenians and his team introduce me. So in that case, it was
Oh,
Wami Tiongson who introduced
okay.
us. And then after that first meeting, he would message me a lot on Instagram because he didn't have my cell phone number. And I wasn't very responsive until 2 months passed. I wasn't very
Wow, two
responsive. But
months.
yeah, there was this one day where I just started like he messaged me, and then we randomly I think he replied to one of my stories about a church, like going to church or something. And then
Okay.
so I asked him about because I kind of knew it was obvious that he liked me because he would message me a lot. Like I remember before he would update me like, "Oh, I'm in practice already. Oh, I just got home. Nasa bahay na ako. I'm with my brother." In my head, actually, I told him. "Why are you
Why are
updating
you
me? I'm not your
updating me?
girlfriend." Yeah, like I went like that.
We weren't
So,
friends
I
yet
kind of
here.
knew.
Like you haven't like had a
No,
actual
no, no, no.
conversation in person yet.
Just that time that we met. Just
Ooh,
that time that
okay,
we met, and
okay.
he would already update me. It was like he was set. He was determined to make me his girlfriend.
Mm-mm.
So like 2 months into his messaging and his updating, like I kind of knew, like as a woman naman, you'd be able to tell na,
You
okay, what, I
can.
think this guy's interested. Yeah. So yeah, one time he replied to a story about my going to church or like a Bible verse or something. I forgot now. And then so I started talking to him about this book about Boy Meets Girl by, I
Okay.
forgot the author, Josh Harris, I think. And then I told him that it's about just the Christian way of courtship, like how God wants us to date and stuff. And then he stopped replying to me. And I was like, okay, well, not like good riddance, not worth my
Okay.
time. Maybe, sabi ko, baka hindi niya type yung
That's not his.
spiritual
That's
or
not his way. That's not
Christian
his
or
style. Yeah,
religiosa.
yeah.
Yeah. And maybe he thought it was like a hassle like that. So I was like, okay, fine. Don't reply. So that was the first time that he didn't reply to me after like months of bombarding me with his
Ooh.
messages.
Wait, sorry.
And
Before
then
you move
two,
on, I just want to ask. Because guys always just trying to kind of we always trying to see what's the girl thinking in that specific moment. So he's been messaging you for 2 months,
Right.
biglang nawaga.
Right.
What
Right.
for you was it? Okay, I won't na. Or did that make you think na parang, ba't di niya ako replyan? Why isn't he messaging anymore? What
Well,
was it?
actually, okay. So it was just so in the afternoon, I remember I told him about the book mga 12 noon. I remember it was like around lunchtime. He didn't reply to me, but not naman for days. He didn't reply lang kasi usually he would reply like in a span of seconds,
Oh,
like in the
excited.
same minute, like
Mm-mm.
that. Yeah. So biglang nag-stop siya mag-reply. Sabi ko, okay, good riddance, baka ayaw niya sa religious girl.
Oh.
And
Okay.
then that night, so mga 5 hours lang naman, mga 5 or 6 hours siya
Okay.
nag-reply, which is for me unusual because he replies so fast all the
Yeah.
time.
Oh, so you
And
noticed
then he
that.
replies,
Okay.
yeah, I noticed that, whoa, okay, maybe I scared him off there. And then
Mm-mm.
6 hours later, he sends me a picture of the book. So yun pala, he bought the book. So
Ooh, okay.
that's why he wasn't replying. He tried to look for the book. He tried to search it. And then he sent me a picture of the book. And then he said he bought it, ganyan, ganyan. So I was impressed. I was like, wow, but are
That's
you
a move.
actually going to read
Yeah.
it? Like, I was going like that. I was like, are you actually going to read it? And especially because when I spoke to him before, he said he's never even finished a book. So,
Wow.
so
You
I was
really
really
changed
questioning,
him.
like, are you going to read this? And then so impressively, through God's grace, he really did read it, like he would send me a summary of the
That's
book, a
each
summary of two
chapter, diba?
chapters every day. Yeah.
Wow.
And then until 2 weeks passed, it's not a very thick book. It's just, just right. And then 2 weeks
Okay.
passed and he was like, I'm willing to court you this way. Now have you changed your mind?
Ooh.
Are you willing to go on a date with me? So I went out on a date with him and a couple of friends. So basically that's how we started.
Yeah.
It's not all lovey-dovey. It's not like we were super right with God's steps, But yeah, we're here through God's grace. So
When
yeah,
you
that's how our dating started.
when you told him about the book, was that
Mhm.
your sign on, because Boy Meets Girl, it's about Christian courtship.
Yes.
So it was really about, it wasn't like some book, some other like
Yeah.
another storybook or anything. It's really
Right.
about courtship. Was it sort of like
Right.
in your plan this is how I want it? This is kind of like, if it's
Yes.
gonna
I mean,
happen
I
with me,
felt
this
like
is how it's gonna go.
yes, for sure. Like I just remembered like you know, I knew after reading that book, the book was gifted to me by a dear friend from college, and I knew
Mhm.
after reading that book, I wanted to be with somebody who's willing to read this book with me, who's willing to just embody its values, and just be willing to pursue courtship this way.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of oh my gosh, can you hear my dog? He's barking.
Di naman.
So I feel like a lot of like a lot of the relationships in our generation now, they were very casual, very
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't last. And so I feel like when I read that book, this is the type of stuff that makes a relationship last, that makes marriages happy. So, I didn't want to waste my time with
Okay.
any random guy. That's why with him, lalo na he's a basketball player and all. And, I'm sure he doesn't lack admirers. I just needed to make sure his intentions were truthful,
Yeah.
that, his heart was in the right place.
Yeah. That's a good.
Right.
That's a good. I don't want to. I'm not
Good
gonna
way
use
to
the
test
word.
out.
Yeah, kasi.
Good way to like fish out the insincere
Oh.
court.
And it's. I feel like it's also like the same way why it's probably not parang sometimes happy wife, happy life has like a bad rep. Is because the girl
Uh-huh.
can't just tell the guy, hey, dapat ganito, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the checklist.
Yeah,
But if it's a book
exactly.
that you didn't write, and well,
Uh-huh.
I read the book. If you want to read it,
Uh-huh.
parang bullshit na lang. Galing. Okay.
Right.
I think
Right.
I wanna check that book out nga for my future purposes. Tapos,
Right.
I'll
And
give it
it's
to the
very
girl.
non-woman centric. Don't worry. It's not woman centric. It's not
Okay.
wife centric. It's really teaching you how to keep God in the center of your relationship at a very
Yeah.
at a very early stage. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. But now that you're married though, um, has your parang your plans with your career. Let's go to
Mm-hmm.
ano naman, career naman. Have they changed or are they the same? Na Baka I don't know if you're the type of person that you have goals na by this age I want to have this position and by this age I want to do this. When you got married, did it sort of take a turn or is it still in the same path like since you graduated college?
Nako, that's another good question. I've been praying a lot for wisdom and discernment in terms of this area of my life. I recognize the fact that I have a career that thousands of girls audition for and dream of having. And so I'm very, very thankful to be in this position. And I don't want to take advantage of that, especially because I'm at an age where I'm able to do it. When I entered the industry, and I entered this industry, the sports casting industry, at a very young age. I entered it when I was 18.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so blessed to be able to get my foot on the door at that age. But I was told so many times that I could only do it until a certain age. And that's how it is basically with
Really?
even show business, diba? That usually younger ones are gonna come in and they could
Yeah.
replace you and
There's always someone
such.
younger and like more hungry and everything.
Yes, yes. So right now I'm 28 and I know I'm in a ripe age to still be able to do what I'm doing.
Okay.
I know that I have a couple of more years for me in this industry, and as I said, I recognize that reality and I don't want to take advantage of it. However, with Kevin, I know he prefers that I be a housewife and such.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like right now we're just really praying. I have no problem submitting with what Kevin wants me to do, because as a wife I need to submit to him, and that's a biblical teaching. But it's something that we need to pray about because it is a big
Okay.
decision. And as I said, I don't want to take advantage of, or I don't want to just waste this great gift that I'm
Yes.
handed at this age, especially because yun nga, I have a couple more years to be able to do what I'm doing. And since we don't have children yet pa naman to keep me busy at
Yeah.
home and such, then I feel like I am pursuing it still. However, I have been thinking about it, and I don't know. I'm praying for God's direction, but either way, whether it be a stay-at-home wife or whether it be me pursuing sportscasting or me going to preschool teaching, they're all paths that I could see myself very happy in. So where
Yeah.
God leads na lang,
Okay.
parang
So it's
ganun.
still in the parang discerning phase.
Right.
And
That's in the
I
same
don't have
phase.
any experience being married, being a wife, but what I do have is experience watching my mom. So she was also a very my mom's ano eh, driven, like maximize.
Right.
You have to like with every test, you have to do the best every single time. So I would like one
Mm-hmm.
could imagine someone like her, it wouldn't you wouldn't expect her to give up her career. Like her and my dad in the
Mm-hmm.
finance world, they were very, the hot shots, the young ones. But she left her job to become a stay-at-home mom. So I that's something I've also along with the technology shift and how it's different for this generation. Also, parang I feel like with the expectation for the wife to be a stay-at-home mom, it's kind of changed na. But what I've noticed,
Mm-hmm.
so my mom was a stay-at-home mom, but she built a career. Like she became an author. She gives talks. I would,
Wow, that's impressive.
if I could just give some, I don't know if it would console you or help you in the discerning, is that um the stay-at-home mom today is so different from the stay-at-home mom of our parents' generation. Like, especially
Right.
now with everything being online, you and I are having this conversation. I'm doing this podcast online at home. Parang
Right.
mas kaya na siya na it's not gonna be anymore na if you choose to leave your job and focus on the kids, it's not like you can't have a job outside
Right.
of that din
That's
naman.
right. That's a great point. That's a great point. Wow,
Yeah.
your mom's so inspiring. I love
Yeah.
it.
Thank you.
I'm learning from this podcast too.
Yeah, thank you. That's great. Okay, I just want to ask a few things about your career. You're already in the you said nga thousands of people want to have what you have, the position that you're in. Was it always your dream to be here, to be a courtside
hmm
reporter?
Well, I grew up with a very athletic family. Everybody in my family played sports. Like most dads in the Philippines, my dad, my older brother, they were very much into basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know if I wanted specifically to be a courtside reporter. Maybe I did at the latter age of my life, but at the start, I was just like, oh, I want to have a job that makes my little nieces and nephews think I'm like the cool aunt or the cool
Oh
big
yeah.
cousin and stuff. So that's what I wanted to do. And then this opportunity came. where diba, we went to Ateneo, and I remembered I was dressing up in Moro Lorenzo gym after working out, and this wonderful lady approaches me and asks me if I'm interested to try out for courtside reporting.
Oh, wow.
And so, that's like, it was so random, no? I was like, oh wow, do I have what it takes? And then so, like, I juggled it lang in my head. I was like, oh, that's interesting. That's an interesting thought. And then biglang when I got home, the first commercial I saw was the commercial, I think it was at
Wow.
Studio 23 pa.
Oh,
Like
okay.
auditions for
For
courtside
courtside
reporters,
reporter.
ganyan, ganyan. Yeah. So then I decided to go for it. I just submitted my application through email, and then they got back at me. And then I showed up for the auditions, and there
Mm-hmm.
were a lot of auditionees. There were like 300 in line. And then ang nangyayari kasi when you try out for courtside reporting, it's parang by stage. So during
Okay.
my time, there were five stages. So the first stage was they make you do an impromptu talk. The second stage is they make you listen to a huddle, and then whatever you get off the huddle, you report
You
it.
have to report it.
And then paunti na kayo ng paunti nun. So from 300, nagiging 200, and ganyan-ganyan. And then, and
Wow.
the last stage, I remember, we needed to gather a report about the team. So since I was going to Ateneo, I needed to gather a report and update about Team Ateneo.
Yeah.
And then, parang may dilemma was, my goodness, this was in the final stage na, the fifth stage. And
Mm-hmm.
that time, parang tatlo na lang kami. Tatlo who's
Ooh.
competing for Ateneo. So, parang sabi ko, shucks, how am I gonna do this? I don't know anybody from the team. Because that time I was just a freshman in Ateneo. And
Oh,
I
you
was
were a
auditioning
freshman.
during... I was auditioning during the summer after my freshman year.
Okay,
So
okay.
I was entering into my
Second
sophomore
year.
year. But you get it. I didn't know a lot of people. I didn't have
Bago ka
connections.
pa.
I was very introverted. I was always in the library. Like, I didn't have a lot of friends. I was never like a party person. So super
Mm-hmm.
introverted, super dorky. So I was like, how am I gonna do this? You know what? Bahala na. Parang, I don't even know if I'm gonna get the part. And even my
Okay.
brother, after he picked me up in ABS-CBN that time, and he was telling me, oh, you reached this far, you did your
Okay na
best, you're
yan.
against veterans na, you're against, because the couple of the people I was auditioning against, they had experience already, and they were much older than me. They were in their senior year, they were in their junior year. So my brother was comforting me na in my head. I
Oh
was
my
like, grabe,
gosh.
my brother. I'm just kidding.
Soften the
Or you
blow
don't believe in
naman.
me, huh? I'm
Yeah.
just kidding. But my brother was so sweet. He was saying, you've reached this far, and I'm so proud of you already. And you're up against seniors.
Yeah,
You're up
yeah.
against vets, and your time's gonna come. He went like that. So okay, I tried not to expect anymore. Pero I knew I still needed to do the homework. Alam nga naman, I show up to the next stage
That's
without
exactly.
homework, diba? So I went to Moro Lorenzo gym again, which is where the Blue Eagles practice. And then I found out that they were all in Las Vegas for their summer scrimmages, because they fly there every summer for their
Okay.
training. So I was like, I am not gonna get an update from these guys. So I just knocked in the office. Like, might as well, best effort. I was there
Mm-mm.
now. So I knocked in the office. And then when I knocked, the woman who opens the door was the woman
Who
who
asked?
invited me, who asked
Wow, it's
me
like a
if
movie.
I was interested. Yeah, so it was like, wow, God, I could really feel your hand in this.
Yeah.
So it was very interesting. She helped me get in touch with the team in Las Vegas. So I remember we did Skype. I think I did a Skype call with sila Coach Sandy or Spoko siya, ganon.
Oh.
And
So you got to talk to
I was
them.
able to get an update, and then I wrote a report on it, and then I showed up in the
Boom.
next edition, and then they sent me home. They sent me home. They sent all of us home. They said they'll just get back.
Okay.
And then a few days after, they messaged me and they said I got the part, and I couldn't
Wow.
believe it. So
Wow.
yeah, it all started there, and thankfully, years after, so I was 17, 18 now, I'm 28 now. Oh my gosh, I've been in this industry for... I took a break. In between, but through God's
When you
grace, I'm
became a
able to stay in
preschool
this
teacher?
industry. Yes, when I became
Okay.
a preschool teacher. And I also transitioned to hard news reporting. So this was CNN. So I took a break from sports, but through God's grace, I'm able to stay in
Yeah.
this industry all these years after that
Yeah.
incident, after those editions. So yeah.
Wow. The
Grabe, no?
story of how the events just lined up. You
Right.
didn't ask about it. Like a girl approached you. She could be like in the movies. You know how there's like an old wise man. This would be the person.
Yeah.
So she
Like the
showed up.
ermitanyo or
Yeah, to give you the opportunity, and then you got home, the commercial
Right.
played, and then oh
Right.
no, all parang wala na akong hope. There she is again, and then you got
I
it, and you were
know.
young. I want to ask though, do you think of how did all these events line up? Do you look at it as a coincidence?
Definitely not. I'm Christian, I
Yeah.
believe in a sovereign God. And so I believe that all of this, God predestined, God planned it all, plotted it all before I was even born. Like, you know how in the
Really?
Bible it says even the numbers and even the number of head in your, even the number of hairs in your head
Hair. Yeah, okay.
is yeah, known by God.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew it wasn't a coincidence. It was, it was God's plan, and it was only through God's grace, not through my credentials, not through my abilities. As you can see, I was at a disadvantage at that time. I was young, I was inexperienced, but God made it happen.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. I
Grabe, no?
I grew up with that. I had that belief also. But I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I guess as I got older, I also had that struggle of like balancing what I believe in. Would it? Because we can say that it's God's plan. He's the one who made that commercial play. The when you turn it on, he was the one who. How come that day you were in more? Why did you work on that specific day? But on the other side, it can also be explained as mere coincidences. Now, going forward and like how you live your life, how you're going to um, serve your purpose in life, and how you go about every day. Do you believe that there is already like a set path for you that's already decided and everything?
Because I believe in a sovereign God. Yes, I
Mm-hmm.
would say so. I think that's a huge part of why Christians try not to worry so much or don't worry too much, because
Okay.
they know that even the bad
Ah,
things that happen in their life,
it's part of the plan.
the fact that yeah, it's part of God's plan, and the Bible says all things work out together for the good of those who love God. So even trials and sufferings, they work out for the good of the person, for the sanctification of the person. So I would say that yes, I'm certain that
Yeah,
everything that's about to happen in my life has been predestined by
it's already
God, and He's
planned.
allowed it to happen. Yeah. So yeah.
Wow. Okay. Hi. Last thing I want to ask about this though is, so there's already, you know, you're saying that there's already a predestined, there's a plan already, but
Right.
we were born with free will, and um I go about with the belief now we create our own destiny. Like we're
Right.
the ones putting the bricks along the path as we're
Mm-hmm.
going.
Right.
How do you balance that though? That there's already I'm just I'm kind of
Nako,
just
I
sorry. Do you
you're
understand? Like
gonna yes, of course, because when I was starting out as a
yeah,
Christian, I had a lot of questions. I had questions
uh
about
huh,
free will. I had a lot of questions about my destiny and such. If God predestined everything, how am I gonna allow these things to happen? So I took classes for it. There's this org that you could check out. It's legionnaire.org. They have the most
sorry. What's the
amazing
name?
theologians. Legionnaire.org.
How do you spell Ligonier?
So Ligonier. So legionnaire.org. There are a lot of just
Okay,
fantastic theologians who explain this.
yeah,
And when it comes to free will, understanding free will, I would say yes, God definitely gave us free will, but free will is very different from autonomy. We have free will in such a way that I can decide to eat lunch, I can decide to eat dinner now at this
yeah.
hour, at this very second. But so that's my free will. I can decide to have
What
children
color of
now. I
shirt
can
I'm gonna
decide to
wear?
yes, what color of shirt
Okay.
I'm going to wear. But at the end of the day, ultimately, since God is sovereign, if He doesn't allow it, it won't happen. So, if, example, I decide to have children now and it won't happen, it's because
Mm-hmm.
God decided it to be that way.
Yun yung
Like
plano.
perhaps you say, for example, you set out to be a pilot. You wanted to have a career shift. You decided to go into pilot school and all of that. But
Mm.
then, if God doesn't
It
allow
wasn't.
it, if God gets in your way, it's not going to happen for you. So I would say, yeah, as human beings, we have free will, but only to the extent that God will allow. We have free will, but we
Mm,
don't have autonomy.
yeah.
Autonomy is a very different thing. Autonomy is robbing God of His sovereignty.
Okay.
And yeah, so that's how I understood free will after taking those theology classes.
Yeah. So it's like
Grab it,
zoomed
mind boggling.
in.
I couldn't expand this all. I want to go on. I could go on and on and on about this, but it's gonna take too long, and it's gonna be It's probably not going to be very interesting for your other viewers, but if you want to know more about it, there are Christian classes,
I,
there are theology classes you could take online, and it's amazing.
Ligonier.org. Okay, I will check that out.
Yes. Although it was free ng lockdown, Antonio, at may bayad
Baka,
siya.
okay. But then if it's ano naman, if it's like for determining how I'm gonna live my life, baka it's worth it. So, what I got there is, zoomed in, if we zoom into the tiny decisions that we make every day, what time am I gonna
Right.
make up? What am I gonna eat? That's where the free will, that's where we have free will. But
Consent.
if you
But
zoom out,
even, uh,
like where is Selena gonna end up? Like what career path? Who's she gonna
uh,
end up with? That's the one that you're saying is wala tayong control dun. The
no,
bigger
even in the
picture
small
things.
things. The thing is, being a
Oh,
Christian, when it comes to the small things and the big things, God is sovereign in those areas of your life.
okay.
So, say you want to brush your teeth with green toothpaste instead of red toothpaste.
Okay.
God will allow that. But if God doesn't want that to happen, He's going to find a way to get into that. Maybe you'll drop the toothpaste, maybe you'll drop your
Oh,
toothbrush,
okay.
maybe you'll misplace. So
Okay.
God really
Understand.
has the
Understand.
power to control even the little things in your life. So He's in control of the little things and the small things. And as Christians, you take also so much comfort and assurance in that, knowing that God's in control, and the person who is in control, the one rather who is in control, nobody can exceed his goodness or his wisdom or his truthfulness. If I had known that I'm really in control of my life, I would be afraid for myself because, I know I'm not as wise as
Ah,
God. I know I'm not
yeah.
as powerful as God. I know I'm not as loving or as kind as God. So, like, knowing that God's in control even with the small things, that gives me comfort and that gives me
Okay.
assurance.
I see. I get it. If it's not obvious
Yeah,
yet by now, this podcast that I have, yes, it's about sharing stories, but it's also sort of like
right.
my personal therapy slash like learning
I love it.
from
I love
people.
it.
So yeah,
Our conversations have gone from like PBA to marriage life to my
yeah,
getting in Ateneo, my starting out my courtside career to theology, to
yeah,
doxologies and stuff. So yeah.
yeah. Okay,
I
last
had a
thing.
lot of questions too. I remember these were the types of questions that
Yeah,
I was asking, lalo na like those who were more spiritually mature than me. And, when I was starting out as a Christian, I had all of these questions like, what? But I
yeah,
thought that I was the captain of my own, like all of that.
yeah,
So I
yeah.
had all of these questions as well. And, thankfully I was able to have these resources that really helped me a lot.
Okay. And ano
Yeah.
the thing that with the journey of like I grew up pretty typical Catholic family. We go to mass every Sunday.
Right.
But then as you
Right.
grow older, and my parents they really encourage that no, yeah, you question it. You if there's something that doesn't make
Mm-hmm.
sense in the Bible,
You do.
don't just believe, yeah, you question it. But
Right.
the more you question, that's what I'm learning, and I've accepted this truth. The more you question, the more you question. Like it's not like
Yes.
okay, that's the answer. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
it just keeps good. It just keeps increasing
I know,
and
which is
getting more.
actually a very beautiful thing because the more you
Yeah,
question, the more you learn. So the more questions you compile, the more knowledge you compile as well.
yeah.
So that's the beauty of it. Like you end up falling more and more in love with God. The more you know about Him, the more
Okay,
you
okay.
expand your knowledge of Him.
I'd have to say
So
I'm a
yeah,
lot of steps behind pa because I believe that. I believe yes, it's gonna be beautiful. I'm gonna get to know him more. But right now, I would feel medyo nakakapagod din sometimes. Na parang, my gosh,
tsaka
ito na naman.
nakakalito at the start.
Oo.
Yeah,
Akala ko
parang it's like,
na-gets
oh
ko
my
na.
gosh,
Hindi
mind-boggling.
pala.
What's this? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. I remember it was like opening up a whole can of, I wouldn't say worms because they're beautiful truths once
Beautiful
you
worms.
embrace them. Yeah, beautiful. I'd say opening a can of
Butterflies.
chocolates
Okay.
or
Okay.
butterflies, yeah, or a box of chocolates like
Yeah.
that. So yeah.
Wow. Okay. Career, religion, marriage.
Grabe, no?
Okay, sorry. Last thing I do wanna ask you about now.
Uh-huh.
It's
Wow,
it's
I'm glad I'm not boring you still,
no, you're
Anton.
not. No, no way, no way, no way. And I also feel this. I want to share na quickly lang with being bored. I feel like it's ano eh. There is nothing that's boring. It's just if you're
Uh-huh.
not like present and invested in what's going
Mm-hmm.
on. Don't
Right.
worry, no, nothing boring about this. Last thing I do want to ask about. It's pretty random. Your dog passed by, so I thought about it. Your dog's Pepito the pug, right? Am I? Did I
Oh,
get?
did you see him?
No,
Yes.
I heard
Did you see
the.
him? Oh, yeah, yeah. The
Okay,
footsteps.
I
I
grew up in a
adore him.
household. I grew up in a household that we had dogs early, and my
They're
eldest
the
brother had a dog.
best.
My eldest brother had a dog. My brother had a dog, but
Uh-huh.
I tell this to his face, so it's okay. I can say it here. They didn't super take care
Uh-huh.
of them. Like they were just outside. They're in the
Oh my
cage.
gosh.
So my parents were
Hala,
like,
nilalaglag mo your brothers.
yeah, no, no. But they learned from it, man. But my
Mm-hmm.
parents didn't get me a dog. They were like, and then we got the first two ones na. They didn't really. And I mean to admit,
Oh, kawawa.
as a kid,
Just kidding.
they were more responsible. So if I were my parent, I'd probably do the same thing. But ever since
Correct.
then, I guess that time kasi, I was very young, so I didn't really have like this emotional understanding of animals and dogs. I would always think na people love having dogs because they're cute, which is
Mm-hmm.
true. But it's
Okay.
deeper than that. Eh. Like I've gotten to experience like when I would go to a friend's house regularly, I get to see the dog a lot. And then I'm like, and I'd pet
Uh-huh.
it. At first you just kind of pet it and then you don't mind
Right.
it. And then later you just kind of I feel like I'm being drawn to it more. So right now I'm in a stage na I'm kind of seeing na it's not just hype. It's not just because they're cute. Like
Uh-huh.
there's a real emotional um connection even
Attachment.
if they don't talk to
Yes.
you, like just knowing
I think
that
that's one of the
they're
best
there.
parts about them. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Can you? What's the for you
Yeah.
though? As a dog owner, does he is he allowed in your house, in your room,
Oh
or?
yeah, he sleeps in the same bed as I do. Like I
Oh
sleep with him every
wow.
day. Like he's like my stuffed toy, and my husband's so in love with him also.
Oh
So
okay.
we equally
That's cute.
adore him. He's turning 7 years old. I super love him. I feel like he's a distressor, you know. He
Mm-hmm.
sparks so much joy. He literally you walk in the house, you see his face, and he's super kakagigal. So he just sparks so much joy. And he's such a de-stressor, you know, after a long day, you come home to warm kisses from him. Like, you know, when they lick
Yeah.
you all over the face,
Yeah.
they welcome you warmly at home. I feel like that's priceless. And yun nga, I feel like talaga dogs, you know, I remember I went to this outreach program and we bring dogs to calamity affected areas or
Okay.
like children. It could also be
As you bring your own
children who
dog?
were abused. Um, well, that time, kasi your dog needs to be certified for him to be like
Okay.
a therapy dog. So that time, I just went with
Oh.
people who have dogs that have the
Okay.
certificates already.
Okay.
So you know they bring them to children who were abused or to areas that have recently been struck by calamity, and they're called therapy dogs because they're really clinically proven to to
Yeah.
lift depression, you know, to lift anxiety, to lift away anxiety, to calm a person, to give joy to a person, to give a lot of positive feelings to a person. So I feel like that's Pepita for me every day. I get this
Wow.
therapy for free and I don't have to wait for an outreach program to experience something like that. So I
Yeah.
feel so blessed to have him. He's right over there. He's so chubby. You want me to make him say hi?
Yes, please. I wanna
Okay.
see him live. I've
Hold
just
on.
seen
This
him
will
in
be very
posts.
quick. This
Go
will be very
ahead.
quick. I'll get him lang. Say hi. Say hi to
This is
Anton,
Pepito
Pepita.
the Pug. Wow. I haven't
Yes.
seen it from this angle. I haven't seen dogs. Wow. Okay. I
Hi,
get it. I'm in love na
Anton.
rin. Oh,
He's so
man.
taba-ching-ching. He's so cuddly and he smells so good because he just came from the groomers. Pepita, you show your cute angle.
Does he know any
So he's just
tricks?
like that. He's very, oh my gosh, no. He just knows, okay, look, I'll try it. Do you want a treat? A treat? Do you want a treat? So he just goes like that with his head. He tilts his head.
Yep.
That's the only thing he knows. He doesn't know
Yeah.
set. He's a spoiled dog. He only knows treats and stuff.
I
So
feel
there,
like they
that's
don't
Pepito.
need to know tricks. Eh. I think the biggest trick of a dog is existing. And like they just love
I
you. Eh.
know
It's
that you know what you're so
unconditional love.
quotable. I want to quote you there. The biggest trick of a dog is just existing.
Yeah.
That's the
One day.
realest thing I have heard
Wow. Thank you.
in this entire lockdown.
Oh,
Just kidding.
wow. Wow. That was a huge honor. Thank you.
But
Thank you.
yeah. The best trick they could actually do is just to exist. The mere fact that they exist.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Thank you for introducing me to your dog. And thank you so much for
Thank
answering all my
you.
questions and all the wisdom I got from you. I really hope that I really praying for a beautiful marriage and
Oh, thank
hopefully little
you.
babies in the future. And yeah, I'll be praying for you. And Kevin, please send my regards to him. Do you say
Thank
send
you
my
so
regards to him
much.
if he doesn't know you yet?
Yeah, I guess you could.
Okay.
And besides, I told him about this podcast and that you're
Oh.
my fellow Atenean and all. So definitely he would say send my regards back.
Yes. Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Anton. I had a lot of fun. You're a great conversationalist and I enjoyed this podcast with you. I hope I didn't bore you too much.
No, not
But
at all.
thank you.
Last thing I'll say is good luck. Hopefully the vaccines roll in already and
I
that you get to have that dream wedding in that beautiful
Right.
dress in the beautiful church and everything. All right.
Aw.
Thank you.
That
Take
means
care.
a lot. I appreciate it, Anton. Good night.